Good evening, everybody, and welcome, Shabbat Shalom, to the 12 tribes of Israel, scattered abroad, and believers in the Master. Hopefully you guys are having a good evening out there. This is Hidden Manna. Hi, I'm Pastor Dave Sain, Senior Shepherd here at Living Manna. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. It is Friday night, which means it's Hidden Manna time for us, time for discussion. Got a neat one for you today, kind of an interesting topic. But of course, I don't do this by myself. I do this with my dear brother, Brother Max, man. Where are you? There you are.
What's up, buddy? Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom, man. How you feeling?
Doing well. A little tired, but doing good.
Yeah, me too. I'm tired. Beautiful day out here today, today. Beautiful day.
Spoiled.
Yeah, I have my snowblower still out. You know, and I'm afraid to put it away, even though we really only had one, really good snow here.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to put it away because I keep thinking, man, if I put that thing away, I'm just going to have to drag it back out. Right?
Yep.
So
we got our shovel on the front porch still.
Yeah, I got my shovel right there, too. I got a little bag of salt. And I keep saying, man, I got to put that away because it's just an eyesore. But there's a part of me that says, I don't know.
I actually got 10. Dude, we've had 3 days that were 70.
You got to change the light bulbs in your house, bro.
Oh, I know, right? But it's just unreal. We're going outside in shorts and T-shirts. We're like, this isn't right.
Yeah. Oh man, crazy. I mean, we got a neat conversation tonight. But man, I got to mention this, and I don't want to get political. I mean, I've been really trying not to really say too much,
Yep.
on political stuff. But our world is messed up, man.
Oh my goodness.
That's
an understatement.
If
right?
by this time, as believers, if we don't realize, man, we're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
We're in real trouble. If the master is coming, if we're at that point in time where I believe we are, well, it's going to get bad. But oh my goodness, are we in trouble?
Yep.
We in trouble. I watched I didn't watch the State of the Union last night. I watched some of the I wound up watching the clips, but I wound up watching almost all of it anyway, just through the clips as the day went on. And oh my goodness, guys, we are in trouble. And obviously, you know what? Because when what was it? 2016, I think was when Trump first ran.
Yeah, when he came down the escalator, right?
Yeah. I was all gung ho. I always liked Trump. I liked Trump in the movies. I liked him in the WWE.
I used to love that. What was it? The Apprentice.
The Apprentice. I didn't really watch The Apprentice, but I knew he was on TV. He was. Everybody loved him. Everybody loved Trump back then.
They were all his best friends.
Everybody loved Trump back then. He goes to run for president. All of a sudden, the guy's racist. But I was really sort of gung ho for him back in 2016. I made it known. I didn't hide it at all. And this I'm trying to be much more reserved this time around because I don't trust any of them.
I know.
I don't trust any of them. I don't trust Republicans. I don't trust the Democrats. I don't trust Trump. I don't trust Biden. I don't trust any of them. And ultimately, they're men. They're men, and they're going to do terrible things. But oh my goodness, we are so close to war. You hear the things Russia is saying. You hear the things Biden is saying. We're not going to stop dumping money into Ukraine, even though almost a million people have died already in Ukraine. They have no young people left. It's like, my goodness, when we don't learn. We just don't learn. But Abba taught me a lesson, and this is just my little personal testimony, because I was going to go to the January 6th thing.
Oh yeah.
Because to me, that election was wonky, man. That was bad. That was the worst. That was the worst election season I have ever seen in my life. That was so bad.
Yeah, when you saw proof of numbers going backwards.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It's like right in front of you.
Right in front of your eyes, and the drop-in boxes and all the rest of that. And I was gung ho. I was going to go there and lend my voice, and you get you're part of a piece of history and all the rest of that. And I made reservations, got a hotel out there. I was going to go buy the tickets, and I got sick.
I remember that, yeah.
And I was sick for like a week. I couldn't shake it, and so I wound up missing it. And obviously I'm at home while it's going on, and then of course all the craziness goes on, and the people try to storm the Capitol. a riot breaks out, from protest goes to a riot, even though they keep calling it insurrection, a riot. It was terrible what they did. It shouldn't have been done. But anyway, but besides all of that, and now realize, you look back on it, I say, my goodness, if I would have even been there, just gone, and stayed on the grounds and listened to the speech, I'd have had the FBI at my door.
Oh yeah, number one enemy.
I'd be a white supremacist, number one enemy of the nation, and the State Department would be knocking at my door. And it hit me, some months later. Actually, as I'm watching all this stuff going on now, all these people you're talking about grandmas and grandpas who were just there. I mean, they were just there. Reporters who
they're given right as an American.
Reporters that were just reporting on it, and they're being arrested now. The guy from the Blaze was just arrested, and I look back on it now and I realize, oh my goodness, Abba spared me.
Yeah.
Abba's hand was there, and he obviously Father knows what's going on. He knows the dumb things we do, and he wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah.
And it really,
that you would have been made an example.
Oh, no doubt. No
they would have
doubt.
saw your profile as a pastor.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if you were there with good intentions and just like you said, you could
Doesn't
have been
matter.
in
Doesn't
the back
matter.
row, just there to observe, and you would have.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. So I realized at that moment, when the Master talks about we're in this world, right? We got to live in it. There's no doubt we have to be able to function in it, with jobs, and You got to take care of your family. There's things we got to do. And obviously, I really think he's not just talking about the world, meaning, because there really is no such thing in my mind anyway as secular world. Everything's religious. Politics is religion. Science is religion. Everything's religion.
Sex now, transgender isn't, right?
It's just another form of religion. But I realized at that moment, that when the Master says that you're not of this world, he means it.
Yeah,
he means it. Yeah, we got to function in it, but we're observers to what's going on, and that's not to say I don't think that we shouldn't, be part of our communities and do for the people around you, and cast your vote as a citizen here, for everything that's worth. But
I think we see a good example even in Daniel. The Hebrew boys, they went to the city square, right? They were there, but they just didn't bow.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they didn't bow. And so Abba taught me, just it took me a while to realize it, but I realized it after a while. I was like, oh man, you know what? Everybody wants, to see Abba's hand in their life, and we're all expected to walk on water or feed 5,000 or some
healed in your shadow,
right? Get healed in my shadow, or I anoint some napkin and send it out to somebody, and they get healed. And how does Abba show himself to me? What miracle did Abba do for me?
He
gave me the flu. He gave me the flu, knocked me on my butt, put me in the chair, and he said, "You're in timeout, man. Don't do that. That's dumb."
Yep, I hear you.
So, I just sort of really changed my whole mindset on everything. It's like, you know what? Honestly, and I don't mean to sound fatalistic, because that's not how I mean it. And I am obviously abreast of what's going on. I have a political mind. I want to keep watch of everything that's going on, because I think it's all part of the story. But man, this is not our world, bro.
Nope. This isn't our kingdom. This isn't
And Abba exalts leaders, and he puts them in a position for a time to have his will done. Or to, unfortunately, to have us reap what we've sown.
Yeah.
And so, I'm going to cast my vote. Obviously, I have my own ideas, but
and even me and you say, I still thank Yah that we're in this land. There's many other countries that we can be in right now that I wouldn't want to be in.
That's true.
As a citizen, right?
That's
as
true.
An earthly citizen.
But man, it's nuts, man. I was listening to some of the speech last night, and I'm not saying on one side or the other, but the things that are being offered to us as a culture, as the things we should vote for and prioritize as the most important things in our culture, is abortion. The other thing that they
Worship
prioritized
of
was
Baal, right?
the Moloch. That's all Moloch, or
Yep.
the gender affirming surgeries. I was like, really, those are the two most important
Yep.
things to people in our country. I mean, I don't think so. It's not the most important thing to me, but
Being fed to us, yeah.
yeah. And that's, I guess, that sort of leads into sort of what we're going to talk about tonight. So I want to talk about salvation and what salvation means. But I want to talk about it, and I started this off sort of on the political footing. Again, it doesn't, whatever. Whoever you're going to vote for, you vote for. But I mean, just we got to have a certain amount of morals and ethics and all the rest of that. But Abba's in charge. Obviously, Abba's in charge. But you notice what happens a lot in our modern political world, especially. I guess. I mean, I'm sure it goes on in other countries too. But obviously, we're Americans, and so we can only know really what's going on here. You ever notice how definitions change?
Yeah.
like long held concepts and ideas that were supposed to be rock solid. And then all of a sudden, somewhere along the line, and I got to admit, I guess it's the right and the left that do this, but I really see this much more from the left. Definitions get changed. And really, I guess it's more the globalist, sort of totalitarian people. Definitions get changed. And they're talking about the same thing, but the definition, the new definition, the new word used to describe an old thing, all of a sudden changes the whole definition.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's something else. Like, we would say, abortion, right? You and I would say, as a believer in Messiah, I'm not, railing on, listen, we all have histories and things that we've done and things we're ashamed of and things we've gone through. If it's under the blood, it's under the blood, fine. But I'm talking about as a policy for a people. It's murder. Just plain and simple, straight up. It's straight up murder. And even if you just call it abortion, but today instead of calling it abortion, we call it female health care.
Yeah.
because it's a nicer word. And it's choice. We call it choice. And you use that word, and all of a sudden, what was an obvious understanding has been changed. And then you have a whole generation that grows up under this new definition versus an older generation that says, wait a minute, that's not what that ever meant.
Yep.
And now you've got this clash. And it's not just that. It's
and then within 2 decades, that new definition will be the solid,
yeah,
without having that previous generation to explain what the original definition meant.
And it really is like, I know it sounds sort of conspiratorial, but it's a psyop. And Satan does the same thing. Satan has done the same thing. He's had the ability through whatever emissaries he has used to maybe slowly over time, because things obviously move much faster now today than obviously 1,000 years ago. You got news 1,000 years ago. By the time
went from the East Coast to the West Coast.
But by the time King George found out that there was a whole bunch of tea in the harbor in Boston, it was like, a year later. There's no internet. It doesn't, you don't find out instantly. Today, obviously, we find out instantly. And there's so many things like that, definitions that are manipulated and massaged by our politicians on both sides. To change the meaning so that they become acceptable to us, right? They become more palatable to us, especially, like you said, to the younger generation. Because if you grow up with that as a new definition,
that's all you know.
Like, family, to us, family meant, a man and a woman who were bound by each other to covenant and worked together. And the man supported and the wife supported, and they raised a family and they raised kids, and that's done. Yep. That's gone in our culture. We don't even that definition is it's gone the way of the dodo bird. And we've got a whole group of young people that don't know that. You know, and now it's, you know, you can be a single mom, and I'm not trying to beat up single moms or anything. I think we're just a product of these changing definitions.
Yeah. Well, even sorry to cut you off. The other day, I was filling out some new. You know how you get your health care every year, you got to renew it, some policies, and when they were asking me questions on the phone, even though they know my name is Mr. Maximo Sains, they would just, oh, do you have any other identity that you want to identify as?
Yeah, well, yeah, there it is.
What? You know?
Here it is. There's male and there's female.
Mm-hmm.
But now a new definition has come up. And again, it's our younger generation that's being really indoctrinated from kindergarten to college. I mean, look at what's going on our college campuses. It is.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's crazy. You spend $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to send your kid to college, and look at what they're learning.
Yep.
Look at what they're being turned into. Or even the word democracy. You hear that thrown around all the time. You hear people saying that all the time. I heard Trudeau the other day talking about we have to defend democracy. Democracy's under attack. Well, that guy's the most authoritarian, dictator there is in the Western Hemisphere. Yep. And he's talking about democracy, and we keep pushing that we keep saying that word democracy. And if you ask most people, you know, what is America? They'll say, well, we're a democracy. No, we're not.
Yeah, republic.
No, we're not. I went to school.
Yep.
I took civic classes. They didn't tell me we were a democracy. And it's not that I'm saying that we should go and we should make a pledge. But even if we remember the whole Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
republic
for which it stands, not to the democracy. Because with democracy, the concept of, and why they keep pushing it, you'll hear it on ever see that news clip on where you've got one news program, they're showing how they're all it's basically an echo chamber. They all say almost the same exact thing, whatever the political point is, that whether it's right or left that's making it. And there's this great meme. It's not even a meme. It's just a collection of like 50 different news clips, and they're all saying the same exact thing in every news clip.
From local news to mainstream
to
media.
mainstream media, all about, you know, fake news and all this, you know, the evils of other news sources. I mean, verbatim, they're saying the same thing.
Yep.
Tell me that's not a psyop.
It's crazy. I've seen. I just saw that recently, and it was from every state, every city. It was crazy. It's the same exact message.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But like I said, even democracy, because the idea of a republic is that we have God-given rights, and the majority, even if the majority is elected, cannot take away the rights of an individual. Democracy is that the majority rules, and the rights of the minority must yield to the majority voice.
Yeah, they can subject themselves to that. Yeah.
And they keep, you know, just so you hear it and you hear it and you hear it and you hear it, and we just sort of at some point just swallow it and say, okay, we're a democracy.
Yeah.
And if you fight against it and you say, well, no, we're actually a republic, you know, people look at you like, what's wrong with you? You're an insurrectionist, or there's some, you know, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And I say all of this because the same thing, and you know who is the key of missing? You know who's the key of? I know. Remember, I used to love watching, you know, some of the Trump interviews when the guy from CNN would be on Trump, and Trump would look at him and go, "Fake news."
Oh yeah,
you're fake news.
Bob,
Acosta, yeah. You're fake news. You're fake news.
Yeah.
He did that.
Yep.
It was definitely entertaining to watch the guy.
Oh yeah, he's a New Yorker at heart, right? He's just, you know.
You know who's the king of fake news? Satan.
Yeah. Yep.
The adversary invented fake news. He was CNN before there was a CNN. CNN, MSNBC, ABC, Fox, all rolled up into one.
Yeah.
Because it's all propaganda, both sides, right and left. It's all propaganda.
That's funny.
And you know what he's done? Exactly what we see being done on an earthly perspective. He's changed definitions.
Yep. Yeah.
And he's said it for so long, and we've gotten so used to that definition that and that even though it's changed, we don't recognize what was originally said. or what the original meaning is. And one of those words is the word saved. As to what saved actually, as to what the word saved actually means. Because I don't know, I've had plenty of experiences over the years. I've had people ask me all sorts of questions. You ever get this question? You get somebody comes up to you and says, well, if I cheat on my wife, or you do some crazy thing, am I still saved?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, what?
No.
If I lived in total opposition to everything Abba has ever said,
am I still saved?
Am I still saved?
Well, then you get the explanation from some pastors. Well, you'll be saved by the skin of your teeth.
Right? Remember, I remember that. Listen, I remember hearing messages, obviously many years ago, but I remember hearing messages with a preacher back at when we first started. I don't want to mention the fellowship, but you know what I'm talking about, Rayner. And I remember messages that you can on your deathbed, on that last breath, you know, say the prayer, whatever the prayer is, and you will be saved.
Yeah. Hey, I have to interject real fast, just in 1 minute. I don't know if anyone realizes, but a couple of years ago, I had a really bad experience where I was in ICU and I actually was clinically dead. They coded me and everything. And when I came through, when they did, I guess whatever they gave me brought me back in ICU, I was trying to, in my inner thoughts, pray. I knew it was bad. I couldn't even talk. And I think I even shared it with you. I couldn't even express in my own mind prayer. Yeah. I couldn't even speak in my mind. And I just thought that was amazing because it doesn't work like people, first of all, think it does in two ways, you know? But yeah, you just reminded me of that when you said that.
And think about the fallacy of that. Now we'll talk about what saved means in a second, but think about the fallacy. Think about how many people heard that, or have heard something like that, and thought in their mind, you know, I'm going to put the God thing to the side for right. And we've heard this too. How many times have you heard this?
Live how I want.
Yeah, I'm gonna sow my wild oats now. I'm gonna do my thing now, and you know, later in life when I settle down, then I'll start to maybe get serious, or you know, if something really serious happens, then I'll go ahead and you're right. When the moment comes, there's no moment for that.
Nope.
It just doesn't work like that. I'm sorry, fake news. That's fake news.
It's a lie. It's a lie from Satan, I think.
It's deception.
Yeah.
So and as well, obviously, just the definition of saved. Because think about, and obviously we did it. We all came from it. We came out of it. Because there's an argument to be made on both sides, but I think you got to think through the argument for a second. So we've heard this all the time. We've heard this for a long time. That if you say, and whatever the prayer is, right? And you watch any guy on TV, any televangelist, and now today everybody's on YouTube, you know, you have the altar call, or what's called the altar call, and then there's the prayer. Joel Osteen, you watch Joel Osteen, and he'll do this. That if you
say this prayer, I believe you've been born again. That's
right. that right now you're born again, and you are saved. And what most people, I think, what's in the mind of most people today, because that's kind of what's been drummed into us, is that when we say saved, it means we're not going to hell. And even that's just not, that's fake news, right? Because that's not the destination. But be that as it may, there's this idea, I think so many of us have been brought up with, that if I say that prayer, it means I'm no longer going to hell. And I'm good, and I'm right with God. And then the concept is, after that, I gotta learn some morals. I gotta learn some ethics. And normally it's whatever the morals or the ethical guidelines are for whatever church or fellowship or denomination or religion that you happen to be in. Because listen, Islam has their definitions of right and wrong. Christianity has its definitions of right and wrong. Judaism has its definitions of right and wrong. And of course, you try to live within that standard. But is that the biblical definition of saved? Are you saved just because you've said said a prayer. Now, the argument to make, and I get why people would say this, but I think we need to think this through, because I said that prayer.
Yeah.
You said that prayer, didn't you?
Yeah. Yep.
So, what's different about us saying that prayer and then now saying, well, it's not really just that prayer or even that prayer, because as we go through this, you're going to find out this is not about a prayer. This is about being forgiven, and this is about joining the covenant.
Yeah.
This is about becoming part of the house of Israel. Man, we don't hear that.
No.
You don't hear any preacher, anybody out there, giving an altar call saying, if you'd like to become part of the renewed covenant for the house of Israel, if you'd like the Torah written in your heart, you need to understand that Messiah is the Passover lamb, and that Father brought him back up from death, died on Passover, rose on first fruits. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
When do we hear that?
Nope, never.
Very rare. If at all.
Nowadays, yeah.
No, we might be more. So then you ask yourself, so what about us? Right? Because I said the prayer, and you said the prayer. So does that mean that we were not saved? Right? 'Cause I'm going to use that in quotes because I'm using sort of the definition people use today. And I think the honest answer is Abba knew who we were.
Yeah.
Abba knew our desire.
Mm-hmm.
He knew truly who is his,
yep,
and who is just going through the motions. And those people that are truly his, and I think there's lots of people within the religious worlds, from Islam to you name it, all over the place, that have a sincere desire for Elohim. And if they do, Abba will get them out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, some way, over time. So then people ask, well, what if I die in that? Because it's somehow we always come up with all of these worst case scenarios.
Oh, yeah.
So what if I say the prayer and I don't, I don't have the understanding I have now? What if I would have died in that? That's kind of above my pay grade a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to kind of, second guess Elohim. But am I glad I did not die years ago?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I am very, very happy that Abba had grace on me. And even in the midst of my silliness sometimes, or even stupidity, he preserved me. But at some point, when truth was presented to the people who really do want him.
Exactly. Yeah.
When truth was presented to us, because what's happening is we're hearing half truths.
Mm-hmm.
We're hearing pieces of truth, and we're clinging to the truth that's surrounded by all sorts of other things. And when we do hear that piece of truth, we cling to it, and then when we hear more truth, we're attracted to that. And then the search begins, and then the walk begins, and then it is understanding truth, more and more truth, more and more. And here's the thing, because in our modern religious world, we say, well, if you say the prayer, right? If you say I accept so and so as my Lord and Savior, even that's not biblical. Mm-hmm. There's no place in the Torah or the New Testament where it says to accept him as Lord and Savior. There's just no place. Now, I know people look, obviously, to Romans chapter 10, that if you confess Messiah, right? Mm-hmm. But that's actually a quote from Joel.
Chapter 2, yeah.
And you got to go back and you got to read Joel. And it's talking about it. And when it says, if you confess him with your mouth and believe him in your heart, well, if you confess what? Mm-hmm. That he's the Passover lamb. Mm-hmm. That's what you have to confess.
Yep.
That he has washed your sin as the Passover lamb. Mm-hmm. That he rose on first fruits. That's what you have to confess. That you are part of the covenant of the house of Israel. That's what you have to confess. Mm-hmm. And that you believe in Father, Abba, who rose him from the dead. Yep. That's what you have to confess.
Yeah, read Joel chapter 2, everybody.
Yeah, that's a totally different ballgame. Mm-hmm. And so, for everybody that is listening to us, everybody that's sort of gone through that that process,
Yeah.
think of how good Abba has been to you.
Yep.
Think of all the silly things we did, the religious silly things we did, that now we look back on. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Man, there's some things I look back on and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe we did that.
And then you still see on YouTube pop-ups, and you see some of these clips.
Oh,
like, wow.
man, somebody showed me a video of me. Oh, man, I must have been, I don't know, like 15, 18 years ago, back in Wading River.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw a video of me in Wading River, the tie and the suit and all the rest. I wore the tie and a suit. I don't know, maybe at funerals is where I wear a tie and a suit. But yeah, I saw this video of me and I was listening to myself and I'm thinking, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Isn't that funny?
I was embarrassed to listen to myself, and yet it was a stepping stone. So, I mean, so I get it. So people say, well, yeah, well, what? And I do think that I think Saul makes an argument for the person who really is on the journey of truth, trying to understand. I think I think it's like 1 Corinthians 3, when he says there are some people who are saved by the skin of their teeth. I keep using that word saved, who are delivered, right? who are forgiven with very little knowledge, very little understanding. But enough understanding, because everybody points to the,
What does Peter say, right?
Go ahead.
Speaking of the Nazarene, that even we're barely saved, he says.
Yeah, if we are barely saved, right? If we're barely saved, and again, it means delivered, because we keep using the word saved, and that already has a definition attached to it that is not the biblical definition.
Yep.
It's the church definition. It's the religious worldly definition. It's not the biblical definition. What it means to be saved is to be forgiven.
Yep.
When it says justified, it means to be forgiven. No different. Because here's I think because now we understand, right? Years later, we understand the examples in the Torah. All of the doctrine is in the Torah. All the stories in the Torah. Everything Messiah does is out of the Torah. He is the Torah.
Yeah.
So what's the Torah example of being saved? Well, you commit all sorts of infractions against Elohim, against his law, against his instruction. But this is to the house of Israel, right? To the people who came out of Egypt, to the people who lived under King David and Solomon and so forth and so forth and so forth. And even the Gentiles, when they came to an understanding, or they wanted to come to an understanding of who the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was. When you sinned, when you were in error, when you know you did something you were not supposed to do, you brought a lamb as a sin offering. You went to the Passover, and you gave that lamb. When you presented that lamb on the altar, and its blood is spilled, you were saved. You were forgiven.
Yep.
You were justified. Not. I know everybody says. Again, it's another church thing. Justified, just as if I'd never sinned. No, no. Again, that's fake news. Fake news. I gotta get my Trump impersonation down. That's fake news. It's not just as if you'd never sinned. It's exactly because you sinned. That's exactly the reason why you're forgiven. So you're forgiven. It's washed. Abba doesn't hold it against you. So now what do? Well, you
What's the next step?
What's the next step? You don't do that anymore. You learn. That's saved. We have to take that example and now apply it to Mashiach, to Messiah, who is the Lamb of Elohim. So Messiah doesn't save us in the classic religious definition. Messiah delivers us, forgives us through his blood. Abba forgives us through Messiah's blood. And now what do? Now you pursue.
Yep.
Now you learn. Now you move on. Now Abba gives us his spirit.
Or like
and
Matthew.
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was about to say, or like Matthew and 2 Timothy say, endure.
Let's look there.
Yeah. All right. 2 Timothy 2:12, right?
Yeah, give me a second to pull it up here. And let's go here. Here we are, verse 12. Go ahead, you want to read it? what is it? Verses 11, right?
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Actually, I'll read it off the screen. Let me see if I can. Okay, so if we endure, we shall also reign with him. Do you want me to start 11, you said? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I like the first couple of words in verse. It's almost like Messiah saying, "Verily, verily."
Yep. Trustworthy is the word. For if we died with him, we shall also live with him. And if we endure, we shall also reign with him. And if we deny him, he also shall deny us. And if we are not trustworthy, he remains trustworthy. It is impossible for him to deny himself.
Now people would read that and say, "Well, wait, even if I don't remain trustworthy,
and he
remain." That's not what it's saying. That's fake news.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it's saying. It's saying even if you don't want to believe, even if you don't want, he is still trustworthy, and he's not going to deny himself. He's not. That's not like a blanket statement that says, "Do what you want to do."
Yeah, well, people say, "Oh, well, he lived the Torah for me. I don't have to do it."
Right, which is again fake news.
Mm-hmm.
It's changing the definitions. Again, we think, when what Solomon says, there's nothing new under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he's right.
Yep,
he's right. It's just now today it's on the internet,
or
on television, or on radio, or whatever. But it's the same stuff. But
yeah.
Go ahead. Verse 13, right?
Yeah, I read that. If we are not trustworthy, he remains trustworthy. It is impossible for him to deny himself. And then 14, want me to read? Remind them, moving it there.
Sorry.
Remind them of this, earnestly witnessing before the master, not to wage verbal battles, which is useless to the overthrowing of the hearers.
Yeah, he's talking here about, talking about useless stuff, just arguing over silliness. So here's a thing that people sort of we've been conditioned to think, and again, there is truth in this, just not the way it's been presented. We are saved by grace, not of works. Okay, so we take that to mean all we've got to do is say the prayer, and then we are, again, the colloquial term, saved. That's not what that means.
No.
That's just not what that means. We are saved by grace. You could not just go to Abba and say, Abba, in the days of ancient Israel, Abba, forgive me. Abba set up a temple and a system that if you wanted forgiveness, you had to come with an animal, with the blood.
Yeah.
That's how you were forgiven. And if you were forgiven, then of course there's the expectation of what comes after and what you're supposed to do after that. But we sort of have this idea, and it's prominent, I think, throughout the religious world, that since it's not of works, there's nothing I have to do.
Yeah.
And that's just not true.
Yeah. Well,
there's
even
a lot we have to do.
Yeah. When I read this this verse earlier today, it was funny when I looked up the word endure, right? Just to get the biblical definition.
That's Matthew.
2 Timothy, that word right there in 2 Timothy, endure.
Where is
Matthew,
it? Wait. Let me go back there so we can
verse.
see it. That's verse 11. Verse 12.
Yeah, right in verse 12.
Let me put this up so people can see it. If we endure, we shall also reign with him.
Yeah, so I looked up.
If we deny him, he shall deny us.
That word in the Greek is the Greek word 5278, pronounced hupomeno, and it means to abide. So now put that word in there. If we, where'd that verse go?
I'm going to Matthew.
Okay, so if we abide in Yeshua, right? Then so we hear endure, and that's sometimes you hear endurance. If I run the race, but it's to abide in him. And we know 1 John 2:6 says, if we abide in him, Yeshua, we ought to walk as Yeshua walked. And so now we're going to see that same language. Which Matthew did you pull up?
Matthew chapter 10, verse 22.
22. And what does that say?
It says, and you shall be hated by all for my name's sake. Now, let's stop right here for a second. How many altar calls? Because I've had, obviously, in the years of doing this, I've done altar calls. In all the years past, I never did an altar call that says, if you come up here and you wanna say this sinner's prayer, you will be hated by everybody for my name's sake.
Yeah, persecuted.
I'm sorry, but that just doesn't draw crowds, does it?
Nope.
But this is what he says, and you
Your
shall
own
be
family.
you shall be hated by all for my name's sake. But he who shall have, and there's that word you were talking about, endured, endured to the end, shall be saved. So it's not. Here it is. When are we saved? Or who's saved? Those who endure to the end. And as you just pointed out, what does endure mean? To obey, to do, to live as he's asked us to live, to have his commandments, his instructions. I know and it's so tough because the words, the phraseology sounds the same, right? I mean, I remember somebody, I was listening to a thing on, what is it, doing, what is that called? Diplomacy. You know, when you have diplomats go out and they're talking to people of the diplomatic service, you're going out and you're dealing with other countries and other peoples and other cultures. And I remember listening to this one diplomat, and they were saying that, you know, you have to learn the definitions of the people's language you're talking to, and they have to learn yours, because you can talk to somebody and get yourself in a lot of trouble. He says, and he gave the example of, we sat down with representatives from, I don't know what Islamic country it was, but it was an Islamic country, obviously, that keeps Sharia law. And the diplomat was talking about freedom, you know, having freedom in their country. But in the diplomat's mind, freedom he was talking about was Jeffersonian freedom, right? Bill of Rights freedom, Declaration of Independence freedom, Republic freedom, democratic representation freedom. That's what he meant in his mind.
Yeah.
But the people who were listening to him, though they spoke English, when he said freedom, they were thinking Sharia law.
Yeah.
Because to them, Sharia law was freedom. And obviously, Sharia law is nowhere close to Jeffersonian freedom. Those are two very, very different things. And yet you can say the same word, but if you don't have the right definition or understand the definition that's being spoken, well, all sorts of problems occur. And I thought that was such a great example of how we've had things twisted and turned. And even if it's just a little bit, because the idea, again, that so many people have, because you'll hear this all the time. Well, you know, what about the guy who was the thief on the cross? All he had was a couple of minutes or a couple of hours, whatever it was, probably a couple of hours, you know, before they break his legs and they throw him in Gehenna. And of course, you know, the Messiah's response to him is, you know, you're on this day you're gonna be in paradise. And so, you know, and I think that's where the idea comes from, that you can just, you know, wait till the last second.
On your deathbed, yeah.
Yeah, but the guy that was hanging next to him was a
Jew. Yeah.
And he went to synagogue. Everybody went to synagogue. And he learned the Torah of Moses. And who knows, the guy might have been at any one of the hundreds of times that Messiah was out there preaching in the temple or in the wilderness. Who knows if the guy was there when a couple of fish and a couple of pieces of bread fed 5,000 people. Who knows? So, you know,
and in the Roman society who hated Jews, who knows what he stole?
Who knows what he did? He might have stole bread
to feed his family or anything, right?
Or upset a Pharisee or a Sadducee or something.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, it's a misrepresentation of the story to say, well, he just, you know, at the end accepted him. No, at the end, he recognized this man as the Mashiach that he had always been told about.
Yep.
So there's a lot more to it than meets the eye when you're just reading it sort of, you know, as a plain Jane. Oh, look, you can wait until that last moment. No, you can't.
Nope.
No, you can't. Don't. Why would you mess with that? Why would you wait until that last moment to try? I never got that. Never understood that. Why would you want to wait? So So this idea that we say the prayer, and of course you learn whatever your religion or your denominational or whatever the morals and ethics are, but you're you're done, right? You're good, and on that day, he's going to say, come on in, enter. I want to show you guys something. This is Luke chapter 14, guys. These are the Master's words concerning salvation. Again, this is not what we've heard before. Obviously, we talked about this before, but in sort of the modern religious way of doing things. Here's Luke chapter 14. I'm going to pick it up at verse 25, and it's a parable. It's actually more than just a parable. It's from 25 to verse 33, and listen to how Messiah describes. And I do remember hearing a preacher, good one, saying one time that if you listen to all the things the Master ever said, he never ever in all of his journeys throughout all of Israel held an altar call and asked everybody to come up to the front and asked them to accept him as Lord and Savior. Mm-hmm. Never did it. Never did it. So here it is, verse 25. And large crowds were going with him. And turning, he said to them, if anyone comes to me, and this is crazy, and does not hate his father and mother, and wife, and children, and brothers, and sisters, and his own life too, he is unable to be my disciple. What kind of altar call are you going to get with that one?
Seriously,
you're not going to grow.
People heading for the back door.
You are not going to grow your congregation with that one.
Nope.
And yet these are the words of the Master. Okay, so we're reading this in English, and we're reading the word hate. Here's just a couple of references for that. On the reference says to love less. In other words, you can't put mother above me.
Yep,
father above me.
Yeah.
Wife above me. You can't put your children above me. Mm-hmm. Right? So all of a sudden, this coming to him, what we would say being saved, this coming to him costs.
Yeah.
It costs. It's not just a prayer and then lots of blessings after that. There's a cost to this. Here is verse 27. And whoever does not bear his cross and come after me is unable to be my taught one, disciple. He's talking about death here. Mm-hmm. For who of you, wishing to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Hold on a second. What is he saying? He's saying when you make up your mind to truly follow Abba, to truly understand who the Messiah is and follow and live as the Messiah has asked us to live, the instructions that he gave, which are based on the Torah of Moses, you need to count the costs. Mm-hmm. You need to be sober, and you need to realize this is no cakewalk.
Nope.
This is going to cost me. And again, nobody told me that. Nobody told me that when we started.
Nope.
Nobody gave me this information. Nope. And even back then, because I read these words over the years, I was blind to these words. They just never resonated until one day, boom, they resonated. I'm saying, wait a minute. So what is he talking about here? Verse 29 says, otherwise, when he has laid the foundation and is unable to finish it, all who see it begin to mock him. He's talking about starting off. Okay, I want to serve Abba. Mm-hmm. Or okay, I'm going to say the prayer. But you don't endure to the end.
Yep.
You got a foundation. You have a beginning. You got one little talent. Mm-hmm. But you don't build on that talent.
Yep. What you thought you had.
The tower's going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
See, we're not taught that. We weren't told that. People don't understand that. It's not just a prayer. And I'm not saying that it isn't based on a prayer. I think it is. And I think we were probably all naive when we said it, but those that said it and truly had a heart for Abba knows us. And he's been faithful to us. That's why I think the Master says, many are called, few are chosen. He goes, otherwise they're unable to finish it, and all who see it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was unable to finish it. And that's the question. Are you able to finish it? Are you moving on? Have you learned? Are you adding interest to whatever the basic knowledge is that you first had? And then he goes on with this. Or what sovereign going to fight against another king does not sit down first and take counsel whether is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? He's talking about, are you going to win the war? Are you going to fight the war? Or do you realize what's actually being asked of you?
Yep.
And
you could run to battle blindfolded. You're gonna.
And I've seen this in I still see it in my life today, and I think hopefully people that are listening, you can see this in your life today. The more you begin to understand about Abba, the more you realize you didn't know, and then the more you realize you need to change things.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
And some of those changes, they're tough.
Yeah. We just said before, Yeshua says his yoke is easy, his burden is light. Doesn't mean there's no burden.
No. There's a burden.
Yeah.
But it's not the burden of the world around us, nor is it the religious road that's wide and easy. It's narrow and difficult, he tells us. Again, imagine an altar call where you say, okay, come on up, say whatever the prayer is. Now your life is going to be, now to do this, it's going to be narrow and difficult. And only a few of you are going to find it. That's not very encouraging, but it's the truth.
On the flip side, think about how dangerous that is when, we were there too. When you go to a supermarket and you want to go lead that person in the prayer of salvation, right? That you just met. Hey, say this prayer. Now you're in.
Yeah, again, I haven't done that in years, and even when I talk to people now, I never try to lead them to what is the modern sort of religious prayer. I don't do that. Nope. I try to give them whatever explanations we can, give them the story, get them a Bible, show them where to begin to read. Tell them you need to start listening to studies, listening to the services. Come, call, we'll ask questions, and at some point you'll get enough information. Yeah. Where you'll make your decision. You'll make your decision, and I do get it, because listen, there's a lot of stuff that we all did, some really terrible things. I've done terrible things, probably more than most people, and there is that feeling of relief when you're like, okay, I confess all of this stuff, and I'm sorry, and that's good, and you feel that moral reform, and moral and ethical reform are definitely a piece of this, but this isn't just about moral and ethical reform. Because you can go to, and I'm not knocking this in any way, but you can go to AA and get moral and ethical reform. You can go to a hospital and get moral and ethical. You go to a psychiatrist and get moral and ethical reform. This is not just based on moral and ethical reform. This is based on understanding. Yep. It's based on learning. It's based on understanding what the story of the Creator of eternity, the plan that He has for us. So anyway, let's finish the rest of this. It says, and if not, while his other is still far away, he sends a delegation to ask conditions of peace. So then every one of you who does not give up all that he has is unable to be my taught one. And you know what this, I read this, and you know what pops into my mind? The rich young ruler. Yep. I can't tell you how many messages I've heard. I probably even said it myself, years and years ago. How many times I've heard when Messiah sends out the disciples, he tells them don't take anything. Just what you live on, whatever the people offer you. And I've heard preachers emphatically say that doesn't apply to us. Really? That doesn't apply to us. He's not saying you have to. And I get, because most modern religion is based on money. It's based on the offerings. It's based on
tickle the ears.
Yeah, all of that stuff. And then when it comes to the rich ruler, I've heard this message. Like I said, I probably preached it at some point, where you say, "Yeah, well, this is just the story of the rich young ruler. He's not saying this for all of us."
Yeah, it's not a general statement. It's just specifically to him.
Oh, yes, he is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, he is. He's talking to all of us. Because in the story of the rich young ruler, obviously he's rich, right? And so what does the master tell him to do? Give everything away.
Mm-hmm.
Now what happened? And then he tells him, give everything away, follow me, and be perfect. Yep. That's the language in Luke, and I think it's Matthew. Follow me and be perfect. Then when you get to Hebrews, when it talks about how Messiah was made perfect, Messiah was made perfect through suffering.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what Hebrews says. Mm-hmm. He was made perfect through suffering.
Yep.
So what's he telling the rich young ruler? What's he telling people here right now? Through your suffering, you're going to learn to serve. So if you're a rich man, he's talking to the rich young ruler. What does giving your money, what will giving your money away do to you?
Oh.
It will bring you suffering.
Yep.
Suffering like you've never seen before. And that's what he's telling them. That's what he's telling them. This thing that you've got, you got to get rid of it. And it's going to bring suffering, but through your suffering, you're going to learn.
Yeah.
You're going to understand.
Yep.
You're going to grow. And so that lesson of the rich young ruler applies to all of us. To all. It's what he's saying here. So that every one of you that does not give up all that he has. He's not talking to the rich young ruler here. Mm-hmm. So then every one of you who does not give up all that he has, if you're not willing, I know this is a tough one. I know this is a tough one, but this is what saved means. If you're not willing to give up, if this is the absolute direction, you understand this to be truth, that the way Abba is leading you, that if you do this, you're gonna lose friends, you're gonna lose family, you're gonna lose loved ones, you might lose job, you might lose all sorts of different things. You're unwilling to do that. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. You can't be his taught one.
Yeah, the servant can't be greater than the master.
Yeah, and if he learned through suffering, so do we. Yep. So the nuts and bolts of it. What truly does salvation means? It means to be forgiven. Mm-hmm. And if you're forgiven, then you need to learn how to walk. Yep. You need to learn how to. You need to learn how to follow. Mm-hmm. You need to learn the commandments. You need to learn the instruction. That's it. Yeah. That's it. But it is not. It is not as simple as people make it out to. I mean, how many times does the master say it's difficult, it's hard, it's narrow? It's just, it's not what we've made it out to be.
Yeah.
And few there are that find it.
Yeah. Because then that comes that danger of belief, like you said. Once you said that prayer, no matter what you do the rest of your life, you're guaranteed eternal life.
Oh my goodness! I'm sure you've come up into this, but man, I've had situations where people have come to me and said, and you've got somebody who's just out there running the streets, drugging and sexing it up and doing all sorts of nutty, crazy stuff. And I've had people say to me, "Yeah, but he's saved." Yep. I'm like, what? Yep. What? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, but you'll know a tree by its fruit. Mm-hmm. It's got to have fruit, and a bad tree cannot bring good fruit, and neither can a good tree bring bad fruit.
Yeah.
So so when I hear people say, "Well, can I do this and can I do that and still be saved?" I'm like, "Well, if you're forgiven, then no, you can't do that. Nope. If that's what you've been forgiven for, you can't do that."
No.
You say, "Well, it's my problem. It's what I stumble with." No, I get that. You got to overcome that. Mm-hmm. It's got to be overcome. Well, that's going to cost me. That's going to hurt. It's going to be really, yes.
Yep.
Yes, it's going to hurt. It's going to be really hard. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be easy, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
Yeah. Good. What do we? Yeah, good conversation, man. This is.
Hopefully, it's beneficial to somebody. And I know our people that listen, they know this. They're walking this.
Mm-hmm.
But I just bumped into this recently. It just bothered me.
Yeah.
I bumped into a situation where someone was using definitions from like 5 different religions, and assuming that every religion, even we say God, right? Another psyop, we say God.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's the generic English term, right? That's as plain Jane as plain Jane can get.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you say God, are you talking about Confucius?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about Buddha?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about Krishna? Or I don't even remember the names of some of the Indian gods.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you talking about Thor? Or are you talking about Zeus?
Exactly.
Or are you talking about Allah? And the list goes on and on and on. Because you know what word is used for all of them across the board? God.
Yep.
So words are important.
Mm-hmm.
And definitions are even more important. The correct definition is even more important.
Well, a certain person last night that was speaking about females' rights said that horrible thing about losing. Yeah, I ain't saying about losing that freedom, and then he says, "Oh my God, what could happen next?" And as soon as he said that, it just cringed me because he just showed who his God was.
Yeah.
Right.
Brother Dave, I just saw Brother Dave on the thing. He says, if suffering is in his, let me see if I can bring this up. It's suffering for his name's sake, not suffering because of my foolishness and disobedience. Yeah, brother, that's a totally different type of suffering. Yeah, you do dumb things, and that's you reap what you sow. Now we're talking about suffering for doing the right thing. Yeah, if your family hates you because you're a jerk, that's not the same thing. That's not the same type of suffering.
For righteousness' sake, if we're
it's for righteousness. Good point though. Good point. Because people they'll run with that.
When we've heard that, I've heard people, why did God give me cancer? I only smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day for 50 years.
I know my heart breaks for that. It really does.
Yeah.
And listen, it's not just even our foolishness. It's about the stuff that's being done to us that we don't even know.
Oh yeah.
The food they're poisoning us with.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
All this stuff that's in our food.
Did you see that article I sent you today?
No.
They're finding 50%
of plastics
people that have clogged arteries have plastic.
I know.
Just from the stuff that's in our food. I mean, and that's just our product of how unfruitful we are with taking care of the land. But you can imagine, like you said, the other stuff that we're consuming.
So when people say, why did Abba let me get cancer? Well, it's or we hear this all the time. Why does Abba allow babies to die and war to go on and this? Well, he doesn't. Mm-hmm. He doesn't. That's not a desire. But he's also put us in a reality where we make our own decisions.
That's right.
And we've got to live with those decisions. And so long as Big Pharma is making billions and billions and billions of dollars, they want us sick.
Yeah.
They want you sick.
They want every person on a pill. Yeah.
They want everybody on a pill. So long as big media, big government, as long as they're making money from war, and they are, there's going to be war.
Yep.
These unending wars. It's just going to keep going on.
A little off topic, but I just saw a scientist the other day, a biologist, was saying, you don't think that these chip companies, they spend $1 billion on average on these scientists to make the food so addictive that you just can't eat that. Remember the phrase, you just can't eat one? They put all that research behind it. And then, of course, what's in that food?
I mean, come on, let's be honest. And now I try not to do McDonald's. I mean, we've stayed away from it, but there's just that once in a while you just get that craving on the inside. This stuff is not even food.
Mm-hmm.
But all those years that we went to McDonald's, you ever go to McDonald's?
Yeah, growing up our whole life, yeah.
Ever go to McDonald's, you get in there and you eat your cheeseburger, your fries, whatever it is, and then like 15, 20 minutes later, you're hungry.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like
hyper palatable. It doesn't. You don't get. You don't get full.
And even when you're eating it, it's almost like a high.
Yeah.
There's just such enjoyment that comes with it. You don't think it's chemicals they put in that food that make it like that?
Mm-hmm.
And not just
Lights
that
up
food.
Your brain.
Yeah. So listen, there's psyops. The deception. What people ask, what about the cancers in the world and war and children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what's happening? There's war in heaven, or there was there. I think there still is. There's war in heaven, and it's made its way down here.
Yep.
And what we are watching is just like there is the Mazzaroth in the sky, and then there was an earthly representation of it in the camp of Israel in the temple. There is an earthly representation of the war that is going on in the heavens.
Yeah.
This conflict. And we're watching it in our politics, we're watching it in our governments, we're watching it in wars, we're watching it in sickness, we're watching it in disease, we're watching it in money, we're watching it in the hatred for people. We're watching it. So it's not that Abba, because everybody wants Abba to just step in and make it all better. Well, he's gonna at some point, and nobody's gonna like it. Mm-hmm. Nobody's gonna like it when he does.
Oh no!
But he's given us opportunity now to pick a side. Mm-hmm. Pick a side and walk and live and do the things he's asked us to do, and not be part of this thing that's going on around us. And it's hard. I get it. It's hard because it's going on around us and it affects us.
About to say the same thing. Yeah.
It affects us. But it's not that is Abba's will for us. It's not. It's what we've chosen. It's what we do to each other. And I think it is reflective of the war that's actually going on in the heavens. We're watching it here, right here in front of us.
Good thought. Good thought, bro.
Anyway, good conversation.
Any spoilers for tomorrow?
Got a neat one for tomorrow, man. And I kind of mentioned it on Wednesday. We're going to talk about Judah and Tamar.
Okay.
And it's one of those stories that I remember, like the first 20 times I read it, I was like, man, this story's crazy. This is weird. Mm-hmm. There's no way. Hey, why would Moses put this story right in the middle of the story of Joseph? Because Joseph gets taken, to Egypt, and all of a sudden Judah and Tamar. Yeah. And you're like, what does this have to do with anything? The guy's a dog. Judah's a dog. He's not a good guy.
Oh, surely she's more righteous than me.
And so that's my spoiler for tomorrow. And
cool.
And of course, you know what it's about? Passover. Mm-hmm. Passover and resurrection.
Cool.
So that's tomorrow.
Good. Looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
All righty. Good conversation, bro.
Yeah, I love you, man. It's good to see you. Good to talk with you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yep. Thanks for everybody out there for watching. Shabbat Shalom. Love you guys. And I finally posted yesterday. I haven't posted a meal in a while.
Yeah, I saw that. I
usually, after I eat it, I'm like, I should take a picture. But I know it doesn't count. So
it doesn't count. No picture, it didn't happen, bro.
Yeah, you know how crazy it was? I wanted to dog that down. I'm looking for my camera. Where is it?
Yeah, Nicole put some stuff up there. Somebody else had some food up there too. So
that's right. I saw she had her brother is a chef or a cook.
Yeah, she had some tofu or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
I had some of that. I think
too, yes.
And I'm not really a tofu guy, but I ate this guy's food, and his tofu was he thought it was chicken. It tastes just like chicken to me.
Oh, really? Yeah, I guess whatever they season it with, it takes on that flavor, right?
Yeah, crazy. You know, it's kind of weird. I know you mentioned this before, and I heard this a long time ago, but it just hit me again. You know, all the animals that Abba tells us to eat all have multiple stomachs.
Yeah, the different chambered stomachs, yeah.
Yeah, they all have multiple stomachs where they're able to sift out all the toxins and so it doesn't get into their flesh and that's why Abba calls it food.
Mm-hmm. Because especially in our society today, everything that's sprayed and pesticides, their bodies can handle it a lot better than ours.
Sure. Yeah, I saw a thing about a chicken from the 1920s and up to the 1950s versus a chicken today, and it looked like David and Goliath.
Oh yeah, they're so small, right? And
I was
bony.
Like, oh my goodness, that's a chicken. It looks like a pigeon.
Yeah, now these things, a chicken looks like a turkey.
Right? Except for New York pigeons. New York pigeons do kind of look like turkeys. They're big. They're big.
We also got those skinny squirrels in the city. You got many trees for them over there.
All right, we're going off on a tangent here, brother.
Man.
I love
Shabbat
you, man.
Shalom, everybody. Love you, buddy.
Peace, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that conversation. Hopefully you got something out of it. I know it's stuff we've talked about before, and Just a little refresher. Don't forget to join us tomorrow morning for our service. We look forward to it. 10:45. You'll see it on the app, and of course, it'll be live on YouTube as well. We look forward to you being part of that, and have an awesome, awesome rest of the evening. Don't forget, Passover's coming up. Sign up for that as soon as you can. Go to the app. All the information's down there. We're going to have a seminar on that Sunday. Lots of good stuff going on. Guys, in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a great one. Shalom. Shabbat shalom.